Hello and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm just checking my microphone, my headset. Can you hear me over there, Mike?
I hear you fine.
All right, excellent, excellent. So I'll turn your mic on in a second here. So hello and happy Monday, everyone. Thank you so very much for tuning into 98.3 FM The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. And of course, I'm your host, Marty Jalove, and I come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock. If you miss any of today's episode, tune in later in the week to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, anywhere you listen to podcasts. On this show here, we talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. And I'm always on a quest to bring you some really great guests. And today is absolutely no exception. This is a voice from the past. Like I said, quite some time. I've known Mike here for many years, and it's one of those friends that he's always there, a phone call away, but for some reason we never pick up those phones. All right, but I had this is episode 4 of a 6-part series on building your dream team. I've had some other people here who were really good at recruiting, some people here, specialists in onboarding, etc. And so this episode is all about that improvement and growth through leadership and how you treat your team and help them turn into the best version of themselves. And so I bumped into Mike and I was talking to him. I was like, man, Mike, you are cut out for this position. So, Mike, without further ado, I'd like you to look into the camera, introduce yourself, okay, and just tell the world who you are, how they can get a hold of you, what do you do, and why in God's name would I ask you to be on the show? All right. So, Mike,
right.
The world is waiting.
Well, thanks, Marty. As stated, my name's Mike Steiner, and I've known Marty for years, actually probably over a decade or so.
Yeah. Can you believe that? Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy. And let's see, when Marty and I first met, I was working at Motorola in Libertyville doing project management and software development. Fun time. But during those years, Motorola was having layoffs every quarter. Didn't know which quarter mine would be. And finally it hit. So I was liberated, as they say, from Motorola back in 12 or 13.
Wow.
13. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and wasn't getting any younger. And I ran into this line of business, which is the in-home care, non-medical care business. And we take care of people in their later lives and disabled adults. And the name of the company is Right at Home, www.rightathomenlc.com.
Nice. That's it.
And I'll throw in our number, 847-984-0103. And we have around 100 or so, about 120 caregivers. And what they do is they go to people's homes, mostly the elderly, who want to stay at home instead of going to nursing homes or assisted living. And we help them stay safely at home for as long as they would like. Just recently, very sad, we had someone who passed away, and I just talked to the wife of this gentleman. Talked to the wife this morning, and she was so pleased with the caregivers we supplied, and it's so heartwarming. It's so heartwarming to hear of the impact that we make on so many people. It was wonderful.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Mike. So let me ask you, so the show is about growth. And really the show, the focus I want to do is talk about how you help your employees grow. But before I even get into that, is I want to talk about your growth here. And first up, I got to ask you, I told you to keep the mic there. I want you to keep the mic a little more in front of you. All right. Because as you turn towards me, because I know you can't help but look at my smiling face. All right. There you go. What I want to do is I want to talk about your growth. Like, you had no experience in this type of business. I mean, you came from Motorola. You weren't taking care of the elderly at Motorola, right? And so what made you, like, what was that driving force? What was the thing inside you, that passion, that little burning, that spark inside you that said, this is the direction I really want to do? Okay. Give me a little bit of that history.
Well, it's actually kind of funny story. My mom is sitting right now in the
green room.
In the green room.
Yeah.
And years ago, after I left Motorola, one of her friends' daughters was interested in project management.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go. And her friend is in the healthcare business. So we went over to their house, had dinner, and I was explaining project management to this young girl, and her mother was explaining healthcare to me and gave me several different types of non-medical home care agencies in the area. I looked at them and I was figuring, God, I know nothing about this. But when
Yeah,
I understood a little bit more, I mean, I helped my mom, I helped my stepmom,
sure.
helped my stepmom, and I realized, wow, this is not rocket science. It's easy. It's what I love to do, and wow, you can get paid doing it. So I was like, what a great opportunity to move forward. So
I'm going to cut in really
yeah,
quick, just really quick, because I want to build on that idea that you said it's easy. I'm going to tell you that I believe it's only easy because of the heart you have, the type of person you are, the love that you have for this. There's plenty of people that maybe when you're talking about this, that they would not find it easy because they don't have the empathy for other people. You're a very special person, Mike. And I think what ends up happening is we all don't see those kinds of things in ourselves. So sometimes every once in a while, you need somebody, a friend or a stranger. Okay. And I always say I'm a pretty friendly stranger and a pretty strange friend. So you need someone like me to remind you that you're a really good person. And that's why this type of profession becomes easy to you. So go ahead. It's back. I'm back to you.
well, thanks. I'm tongue tied now, Marty. Thank you. Um, you know what? It is special. It's a from Motorola and developing products that people buy. You market them, you manage them, and you push them out as fast as you can with high quality. Into moving into something that impacts people's lives so much. And when I first started, it was interesting because it's like, okay, do I hire caregivers first, or do I try to get a client first?
Yeah.
So that is the biggest issue that anyone experiences when they open a home care business. And I bought into a franchise system. And the reason I bought into the franchise system was because I knew what I didn't know. I
Yeah.
didn't do any marketing. I was a project management software
Right.
development. I didn't know marketing. I didn't know financing. I didn't know managing a whole team, hundreds of people, and managing clients. So the franchise system, you buy into it because they have a system that works. And it was I found it quite fascinating. I talked to a lot of different owners before I started, and I said, now that you have been in the business for quite a while, what would you have done differently when you started?
Okay.
And time again, the answer was follow the playbook. Follow the playbook.
Nice.
Because too many people, they get into the business and they think to themselves, well, geez, I know my area. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
And that kind of attitude has resulted in countless failures.
Sure. Sure. So, you know what? Here, I'm going to do this other thing is because Mike, as long as I've known you, you've always been a modest guy, and so when you say, "Hey, you grew a very successful company." I mean, you said over 120 people, right? Is
Yeah.
that what you said?
Got about 120 caregivers.
Wow.
I got about 9 office staff that help me out.
Okay, so that is not how typical is that for this franchise to be that big? Be
That's
honest.
that's not that's not very typical. We're in the 98th percentile of the entire corporation. 95th, I think, is what it is.
Okay, so you're up there, right? All right, and so that has to there's got to be something that you've got to give yourself kudos for your leadership skills and the way that you treat your team, right?
So
Wouldn't
yeah,
you get? Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm gonna make you blush and tell you and say take credit for the type of person that you are.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And I keep putting the camera on you like that. All right. But and this is one of the reasons I wanted you on the show for this particular show, this episode, when we were talking and just that, you were filling in the blanks of since the last time we talked. and some of the things you said, and I said, wow, you would be really good at this. And one of the things on the show, and you're finding out right now, is I give my guests barely anything, very few notes, if any notes whatsoever. So you come on the show blind, going, all right, here's what we're going to do. And I really want it just to be an honest conversation. I think what happens when we practice too much, what ends up happening is then there's scripted answers. And instead, what I want to do is just dig down deep inside you. Now, one of the things I want to dig into the show here is the reason the show is called Bacon Bits is because I truly believe everything bacon touches becomes just a little bit better, right? You can add bacon to steak, you can add bacon to liver, you can add bacon to a salad. Man, you put bacon on a donut, you're gonna get your hand bitten
Wonderful.
in front of me,
All of
right?
it.
Exactly, right? So the show is called Bacon Bits, but obviously not talking about the bacon for chewing. We're talking about the bacon for doing. So what we do is we use an acronym BACON as a light outline for what we're going to talk about. And today, Mike, this is kind of the direction we're going in. We don't really even have to follow it perfectly, but I want you to kind of brainstorm and so you kind of understand the direction I'd like to talk in. But I always love a good tangent. So the B in bacon today is build opportunities for continuous learning. I think it's really important for us to always help our people so that they feel they have an opportunity to grow. A is assess with honest feedback. And I want to really spend some time on feedback. I want to hear how you give feedback because sometimes, feedback is really difficult. Your employees need that. Your team members, your team leaders need that feedback. But sometimes it's really difficult because you've got to get that gentle balance of positive and, let's say, creative building feedback, some opportunities. So I want to pick your brain on that. C in the bacon is chart clear career paths. Is there where opportunities for them to grow? Again, what do they want to do? It's a little bit different than what we talked about when I'm saying B is build those opportunities. This one's going to be chart those clear career paths. So you're not lying to them. You're telling them this is where you can go with this company. This is what we can do. The O is going to be offer recognition and rewards. And without even knowing for sure, I'll bet that's a big thing for you. You offer a lot of probably praise, but we'll get into that. And then N is nurture top talent. When you take a look at that, your top talent, those people who are really the superstars, you nurture them because you never want those people to leave. So, Mike, before we even dig into this, I'm going to throw it back to you, and I want you to say, as a leader building a team, that the team is going to be responsible for taking your dream, right? You're handing the ball off to them and they're taking it to the goal line. They're doing something. What is a couple of things that you've always felt either came natural to you or you pushed and said, this is what I know I have to do for my team?
Wow, Marty. Well. That's a mouthful. Yeah. So I took a couple little notes
Okay,
while
good.
we're talking.
All right. Yeah.
But I wish we were to have this conversation like a week or so.
No, I don't like
ago,
that.
and I think
I prefer this. I just want to know,
Sure.
honestly, how do you treat your people? How do you grow? Why do people stay working with you? Think of that.
Well, of the people who stay with me. So I started this in 12, and one of the folks that I have, Michelle's been with me for over 10 years,
Okay.
and I look at her, and she's been in many different roles.
Okay.
And many of you have heard the terms the right seat on the bus. Are they on the right bus? And then
Yeah.
if they're on the right bus, are they in the right seat? And what that means is, are they in the right company? And are they in the right role for that company? So Michelle had been in several different roles, and she's now in the finance role because her attention to detail is fantastic.
Nice.
What used to take me hours and days takes her minutes. I mean, her level of detail and understanding of what she's doing just blows me away. I can't remember which book I read, but it was about hiring people that are better than you
Yes.
and
Yes.
empowering them to do what they can do. And she's been fantastic in that role. Have another person, let's see, Deb, who's been with us for I think maybe 9 or so years, almost as long. She used to work at Victory Lakes, and she was managing caregivers there. the
Okay.
caregivers that work there. When I first went there, I actually started working at Victory Lakes before I was even licensed. And what I was doing there, I was volunteering my technical ability,
Okay.
teaching the residents, seniors, how to use technology.
That's
So I
awesome.
contacted Apple and got them some massive discounts on a bunch of iPads. And I'll never forget the joy in these residents, these seniors' faces when I set them up with Facebook messaging and Facebook just in general.
Right,
And
right.
they're contacting their grandkids on it. And it was like you couldn't put that genie back in the bottle. They're
Right.
sending these messages that I would have to tone down. It says, keep in mind, everybody can read those. So
Yeah.
don't just say something only your granddaughter is going to be reading. So that was great. So back to Deb.
Yeah.
I asked her, I said, Deb, what do you not like about other home care agencies? And she told me, and I'm thinking to myself, mental note, don't make that mistake. Don't do this. Don't do that. So over time, we became friends. I was doing a lot of work over there. Eventually, the company that Deb was with was let go from that. They call it a CCRC, Continuum Care Retirement Center, because they
Okay.
have independent living, assisted living, and then nursing, skilled nursing. So Deb was out, and I contacted her, said, Deb, why don't you come on over, work for me? She didn't want to at the time because she was working in another company. That kind of went sideways a little bit. Finally, connected back to Deb and brought her in. She worked several different roles in the company. Again, we're talking the right seats on the right bus.
Yep.
And she was doing human resources. Michelle had taken a tour of that as well. And a few other positions. And now Deb is what we call a care manager. So she works with clients. She has a load of clients and she works with them day in and day out. And when we sign up a client, Deb is one of the care managers who is that client's focal point and number one go-to person within Right at Home. And what's really exciting to me is when I'm talking to these clients, they're like, "Oh, Deb's taking care of that. Deb's great. She knows exactly what's happening.
That's awesome.
All I got to do is text her, call her, send her a message, and she takes care of it
Yeah.
all."
So, Mike, you know what I love about this is both of the stories. Again, it's a reflection of the person you are because the stories you're telling are like deep stories that you're taking some pride in these two as almost as if they're your children. Like you brought them in, they're partners, but you also wanted them to grow. You wanted them to be successful. And I
Absolutely.
and I think that's the part that comes true. This whole idea that I have worked at businesses and I've seen businesses that they kind of hire people and say, look, this is what you were hired for. This is what you get paid. Just do your job. And if you work with people like that, or if that's how you treat your employees, what you end up getting is employees that just won't do anything extra, will only work for the dollar amount, will clock out at 5, right? And instead, what you did was you flipped the script and you say, no, no, I want to nurture you people. And if and you're a good person, and let's find the right position for you. Don't stop growing. These people, because you talked about how they're switching from the career path to a career path within, which are dramatically different. So they had to learn a little bit. It wasn't like, oh yeah, if I can do this, I can obviously do this.
Mhm.
So you encourage them. Let me ask you, and we're jumping from session to session, but this
Sure,
is
sure.
that same thing. Is so did you ever offer like some mentorship in this or the continuous education? Like, what was your role or making your company's role in their growth?
So I look back again to what they are doing and there's what I'm told is needed, and I say what I'm told
Yeah.
from the franchisor, the
Okay.
corporate office.
Okay.
And they're telling me, gosh, as you're growing, you need another person to do this, or you need another person to do
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
And I've never had many people. I think when I was at Motorola, the most I've ever had is 6 or 7 people, 6, 7
6 or
people.
7 to 120 is a big jump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I think if I knew that day one going into it, probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
I didn't think about
that's
that.
scary.
It's very scary when I look at it. But I think a lot of the delegation and empowering your team, empowering the people to make decisions. I tell the team, I say, look, if you're not making a mistake, you're not growing.
Oh, Mike,
It's
I'm going to give you a round of applause. I love that. I live by those words. You're right. Beautiful.
it's true. I mean, I kind of joke around when I make a mistake. I tell people, I said, wow, if that's the last mistake I make this year, I'll be great shape. I'll be
Yeah,
in
yeah.
great shape. And obviously it's
I
not.
I have the higher expectations for myself. I always say, if that's the last mistake I make today, I'll be in great shape.
But it's wonderful. But I did want to mention one other
Yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick, maybe a few more, but Betsy.
You okay?
So we
Got to do
started,
shout outs for
I
these
do,
people,
you know what?
right?
We started taking care of her mother. Okay. We were starting to taking care of her mother. They were with a different agency, and they decided they had some issues there, and they decided to come to us. And over time, Betsy said, wow, I like what you guys are doing. Do you have any more opportunities to work as a caregiver? So
Right.
I'm like, absolutely. That's the toughest part of our business, getting the caregivers. So we brought Betsy in and we had her do some caregiving. And that lasted for a while. And then I asked her if she wanted to come to the office and do some work in the office. She said, sure. She came in. Now she's our lead scheduler, managing all of our scheduling efforts. And what's totally incredible when I kind of look at benchmarking, which I do a lot with other offices, is how many open shifts they have, not just today or the current week, the next week, and the following weeks. And I'll tell you, Betsy is on top of it. We have no open shifts. She is killing it.
Nice.
When there's an open shift, she's it's like whack-a-mole. She just whams it and gets them filled. She works closely with the caregivers and all the care managers report to her. And there are things she doesn't like to do, a lot of the management, but she's involved with the management and is really doing well. Totally respect her, and she helps. She's a great leader. She really is.
That is awesome. Again, I love when you're sharing these stories and they're from your heart. I mean, everyone's going to be able to see it if they watch it on YouTube or Twitch. The big grin on your face when you're talking about your team like this. So, did you tell your team you were going to be on the radio?
No, I told some.
All
I
right,
didn't tell
okay.
all of them all.
Well, it's
but I'm
gonna
going to
be-
be sending that.
All right, yeah. So after later this week, like I said, it'll be on my YouTube channel as well, and they can listen to the podcast. I'm interested to hear them, especially. I'm going to let you do a couple of other short shout outs to some other people because you never want to leave anyone out. But 120 employees, Mike, I hate to break it to you, you're going to end up leaving somebody out.
Well, right now I'm really just talking about the office staff.
Sure.
And I do have a couple of caregiver ones, but I do have one more for the office
All right,
staff.
go ahead.
And it's Ken. So Ken and I met back so I was on the Grays Lake Exchange Club, and that's where I first met Ken. He was a president at the time, and I was the incoming president just under him. So Ken was a teacher. He had another business that he was working in that he had owned, and Ken ended up coming on board as a caregiver. And he's just got such a kindred spirit. He's just a super nice guy. And he had taken care of this man for a long time, and his wife. Obviously, not going to name names, but he became so close with the family that when the wife died first, the family invited Ken up to give part of the eulogy.
Wow.
And that was like, makes me shivers the back of my neck. It's just when I talk about this, and it was amazing. And then years later, when the husband died, they asked Ken to go up and talk again.
Wow.
And it was amazing. So Ken, great caregiver. He did a lot of that. We brought him into the office. He's helping with intakes and sales, and is just doing a lot of wonderful stuff for us.
That is awesome. So Mike, what I wanted to do is tell you this other thing is that what I really see, the other thing in everything you're explaining to me is that you have this great eye for finding great people, really good people, the people who are right for the company. I am sure you could tell me stories about maybe hiring somebody later on. You're like, no, that wasn't the right person. Maybe you have those stories, or maybe you talked to somebody who you were interviewing saying, no, it's not a good fit. Maybe, but the people you're talking about now, what I love about this is something that a lot of businesses don't think about when they're trying to grow their team. They find people and they put them in a position. They go, great, that position's taken care of. Now let me work on another one. And then now let me work on another one. And we forget about those existing people who are wonderful people. And sometimes if we forget about those people, if we don't keep talking with them and walking with them and checking on them and seeing if they're still motivated, etc., it's really easy to suddenly one day some of your best people just say, I'm leaving. It's not for me. Right. And so it seems like, just based on the detail you're sharing with each of those stories, there's a lot of great open communication between you and these people. And you're finding good people and you're saying, we're going to keep moving you around, tweaking your position, tweaking what you do till we find what really is meaningful to you, so that you look forward to coming to work every day.
Oh,
You know?
yeah. That
Go
now
ahead.
I want to jump into the
Yeah.
caregivers for a second,
Yeah.
because they're the lifeblood of what we do.
And we're going to take a break in a moment. So
Okay.
I'll give you like 1 minute to say something, and then you're going to say something back after the half hour break. Look, we're already half done.
All right.
All right.
So several times, but just one recently, one of the caregivers who I met during our orientation, she asked me who I was, and I said, Mike Steiner, I'm the owner. And she said, really? And I said, yeah, why? And she said, I've worked at many different home care agencies and I've never met the owner.
Yeah.
And it's really special. She said, it's really special to me that you seem like you care
Yes.
about us. And I said, I was surprised that that came out, because naive me, I thought everyone would do that, but apparently not. Um, this isn't rocket science. It's just having the right people doing the right things and just encouraging them, recognizing them, rewarding them for what they do.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So with that, Mike, before we're going to break in just a minute. Before we do that, I'm going to give you a copy of this. This is one of my newest books. Okay.
Oh, thank
Manage
you.
Monkeys, Lead Lions. All right. And after years of doing this, similar to what you did, where I have a very large staff, where it's difficult, you want to make sure we continue to talk to everybody. Right. But sometimes we find ourselves spending more time, because our jobs are closer together. What we have to do, we spend more time with our team leaders, more so than we talk about the let's say the frontline workers. All right. And so this book I wrote about this idea of helping inspire your teams from apathy to ambition. And it's looking at what their skill level is, how interested they are in building more skill, as well as how ambitious they are. All right. And it's a really cool book. I'm going to give you this copy. And at one point in time, I want you to reach back to me and say, hey, I flipped through the book, and it's broken down into 16 different animals. So all your employees will fit into these different animals. And I want you to come back and go, yeah, you know what? I did find some that were ostriches. I found some that were badgers. I found some lions, etc. And just because I want your feedback, because you're the kind of guy who I think will give really good, honest feedback. So I'm going to give you a
Absolutely.
copy
Thank you.
sometime at the end of the show. I'm going to sign it. But if anyone else wants one of these are available on Amazon. All right. So, Mike, with that, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a momentary break. And please, those of you who just tuned in, I'm talking to Mike Steiner, and it's Right at Home, correct?
Yes.
That's Right at Home, care for the elderly. And
In-home care and assistance.
I love it. There you go. Because you knew I was going to mess that up. But we'll be right back with him. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to build that dream team. This is how to help your team grow. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a minute. And we are back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. And I am with my good friend, Mike Steiner. And we're talking about how to build that dream team, how to help your team grow and evolve into the best version of themselves. And there's nobody I know of that could explain this better than Mike. And even he doesn't believe he can do this because you can hear the him speaking from his heart about his team, which just tells me that he cares so much about them that he really wants them to grow, and he really wants them to grow beyond him. And I'm going to ask you to clarify that statement, Mike, because what Mike loves is this entire show. He's like, why didn't you prep me on the show? I'm just throwing questions at him. But Mike, this idea is, and tell me if I'm wrong, you seem like the type of boss who truly wants the absolute best for your people. Like you had made the mention earlier that too many people don't believe in that idea of hire people who are better than you. You have to, I mean, if I had to hire people, the last thing is I need is another Marty Jalove, right? The world doesn't need another one of those. So I'm going to hire people who do things that I can't do, or do things that I'm okay at or really bad at, and do those things so much better than me. So tell me what's your inner philosophy, or even your business philosophy, on helping your people become better than you, or even better than the company in general?
When I think about that, that's almost been a byproduct, Marty. It's
Okay.
almost been a byproduct because when I'm hiring someone, I don't know a whole ton about them. So, and even clients ask me, "How do you hire your people?" And I say, "Look, this isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
If you have a heart and they care, that's what's key. You can teach anybody almost anything, but you can't teach them to have a heart and teach them to care. And once you have that kind of locked in,
Yeah.
the rest kind of falls in place. So I think that's really been, I don't want to say a secret. That's been
No, no,
what I'd look for in everybody, the office staff, the caregivers. Um, it's it's truly magical when I see some of the caregivers working with their clients. They become part of the family. I'll never forget one time I went to, sadly, it was a funeral, and I get there early, and the family's seeing me and says, "Oh, there's Mike. He's the one that had all the caregivers," and they start talking, and then Tawanda walks in, who was taking care of their mother. And it was kind of like, whew, Mike gets tossed aside. There's Tawanda.
oh,
She's the one that was so helpful for mom. She did this, she did that. We're all crying.
that's beautiful.
And I'm thinking, wow, I want so many Tawandas. This is
Yeah.
what I want. I mean, it's never
And
forget that
Mike,
for
and it's not even that you want so many Tawandas as much as you want to turn all these other people into more Tawandas, right?
very much so. And that is the hard part. Nationally, this industry with caregivers has a 72% turnover rate,
Oh,
which is just awful. So several years when I started, we were in town in Grays Lake, right next to the fire department. Used to be the command building, and stayed there for several years. And then we were expanding, got a building on Route 45 in Center. And when we got the building, I wanted it to be a place for the caregivers where they could come and relax in between shifts, after work, bring their kids in. We have food, we have snacks, we have lounge chairs and picnic tables in the back. So I wanted it to be a place where we truly recognize and set apart what we are from other agencies, because without those caregivers, without all the employees, we're nothing.
you're right, right, right. So let me ask you. So you said that the national average is 72% turnover, which is interesting. I want to know, in like what type of a time frame, like a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year time frame. First off, and then I want you to tell me what's your turnover rate compared to the national numbers.
So that's typically on an annual basis.
Wow, oh, that's a lot.
It is.
72% in 1 year.
Yeah, it's crazy. You look at the numbers and you say, I mean, I've looked at my numbers and I said I started the year with 100, I ended with 100, but I hired almost 100.
Oh,
And but when you kind of peel that onion a little bit more
yeah,
and you see, well, did they stay the first 2 months, 3 months? It's kind of the sweet spot.
right, right.
After 90 days, that's the fantastic. So I have other statistics that show how long we've had the caregivers. and the majority of them have been with us for over 3 years,
Holy cow, that's that's
which is
beautiful.
great. So it's just hiring the right people. And that is honestly so much money and effort is put into that piece of it. It's
Yeah.
that is the hardest. That is the hardest.
Okay. So one of the things I talk a lot on the show about how I define there's three different types of employees, and I call them the three P's. There are employees that work for a paycheck. They come in, they just want their dollar. Second is personal growth. They want to grow. And then third is a passion either for the company or for the industry in general. Right. And I always look at this and say, what you really want are those people who have a passion for the industry in a whole. But my God, if they have passion for your individual company, if they have a passion for the reason you're in existence, the reason why you do the things you do, you've got somebody who is a potential lifer. As long as you're always telling them the truth. All right. The worst you can do with somebody who has a passion for you is lie to them, break their heart. Right.
Absolutely.
The people with they want personal growth, they want to grow, you can keep them forever as long as you give them opportunities to grow. The day that it's kind of that when they reach a point and they go, I've gone as far as I can go with this company, that's when they're going to leave. And a good employer sometimes, if you say, I don't have anything more for you, you should leave. You've outgrown us, and maybe you need to be able to do something else. Maybe I can help you open your own place, your own franchise, or anything like that. uh Unfortunately, we tagged so often with employees that just want to work for a paycheck. And when companies say the reason they started a business was just for the money, they started this and they said, I bought this franchise or I started this business because it's good money. Those people realize if that's your passion, your employees are going to have the same passion. They're going to work for the dollar, right? And then what happens, as soon as they can find a job a mile closer to home for $1 more an hour, you lose those people. I see you're shaking your
I've
head
seen
like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I see that. I see that a lot, even with the owners. When they're buying a franchise or getting into the industry, they see dollars.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you what, those are the first people I see fail.
completely.
um, Now, when I talk about my employees, well, sure, everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to make more money.
Sure.
What my experience has been with the caregivers is they start a, a decent paycheck. And the personal growth, I'd say the majority of my caregivers are working part-time while their kids may be at school or they want to do
Okay.
something different, or even retirees who don't want to sit around watching television.
Gotcha.
So the personal growth is not so much on the corporate ladder, climbing that.
For you,
It's
for your guys, right?
for
Yeah.
in this industry. It's really just learning more to be a better person. There's something about helping someone else that really makes you Marty, you're in this business.
Yes,
You do this.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, when you're working with someone and you help them succeed, how does that feel to you?
Oh, it's all I want to do. I always say the real test is if money wasn't an object, would you still do this? And I would be doing this constantly. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So that,
Yeah.
that
I mean, here we are
that's
on
the
Memorial
passion.
Day. Here we are on Memorial Day, right? Still
Right.
on the show chatting it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Your poor
absolutely.
mother thought it was only going to be a 15-minute podcast.
I think she's snoozing, taking a nap. But it's truly the passion. And
Yes.
I run into some of the caregivers that the passion is just it's unbelievable. They take ownership to their clients. I love listening to the stories my clients say about my caregivers. This one that I was telling you about that I talked to the daughter,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, the wife of the gentleman that passed. She was talking about her caregivers. And then after we hung up, first thing I did was call the caregiver, the lead caregiver that really made such a positive impact on the whole family. And it just felt good. And they were working with a hospice company. I
Oh,
contacted them and said, you know what? This client that we were working with together, they said nothing but the highest things to you guys. They
wonderful.
really, really loved you and everything that you did for them.
That's
And
good. That's
and I felt
beautiful.
good saying that.
Sure.
It was the right thing to do.
As
Make
the
their day.
as the guy leading the team here, Mike, that's got to be the best thing to hear all the time is that when you hear those outside judgments on your team and they're saying this is absolutely the best, that And I'm not even going to say it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection or it's proof that you're going about it the right way, but because you're finding what's inside these people and you're allowing them to flourish. And I think that's it, because I've seen too many people that stifle their employees, push them down, micromanage, correct them too much, and beat them down so they can't flourish. So with that, I want to jump into this. Is we talk? I told you we try to follow this bacon, and we went off on plenty of tangents, which is fine. But A is assess with honest feedback. I want to get your take on when you're talking with people, because you've got to continue to give them opportunities to grow. You've got and not just, hey, this is another department you can work in, or this is a new skill. It's got to be, you could be more empathetic. You could do this. Hey, when you talk to somebody and you're breaking bad news or you're sharing information, whatever it is, and you share that, how do you break down those conversations of the good news and, let's just say, the potential bad news with your team and your employees? How do you run those kind of meetings?
Well, so the meetings we run are we take a lot from the book Traction.
Nice. Yes.
You've
Yes.
heard of that?
Of completely.
The EOS system.
Uh-huh.
And kind of I want to back up here because we started by coming up with our core values.
Yep.
And our core values lead us the way in how we measure and how we recognize and how we um, reward our employees. It's how do they follow and practice the core values that we have. And that's really been our guiding principle,
Okay.
not just with office, with caregivers, and even myself. I'm accountable to them. I actually flipped my org chart upside down,
Smart.
and at the top of it, it's our customers. The next level down is our caregivers. And I share this with the caregivers. And the next level down is our office staff who are there to support our caregivers. Not necessarily lead, of course we lead them, but it's really to support them.
Right.
And then the next level down is the owner.
Yep.
And that's where I'm supporting my office staff and supporting my caregivers and supporting the clients. And I found that I learned that from another franchisee out in Boston area, and it just resonated with me. And we share that with our caregivers during every orientation, and it means a lot. We practice what we preach, and we've had clients that disrespected our caregivers in various ways, either by sexism, racism, all those isms that you can put
Sure.
together. And I used to say we have fired so many clients on one hand, I
Right.
could count. And now it's like, I'm not proud of it, but we have literally let our clients go uh, more than 10, maybe 20
Okay.
or so because of the disrespect for the caregivers. And we tell our caregivers that we're not just telling them. It's not just words. And we
Right.
really we walk the talk.
Yep.
And that builds credibility for these folks. And we truly mean it. We
I
help our caregivers.
I love it. I agree with you that. And one of the first things I do is when I go and talk to a company that where we're talking about if they need some coaching from me. And the EOS system is awesome. I've helped some people who are trying to implement the EOS system, so I break it down. I'm very familiar with it, and I love the way the system works. But one of the first things I ask them is these questions about their culture, and you ask them who works for who, just like you had said. And it's really interesting when you hear somebody go, well, these are the people who answer directly to me. They answer. And I was like, no, but who works for who? Right. Keep asking that question. And what I'm trying to get out of them is we all work for the customer, right? We work for that end user, the person who takes our service or takes our product, right? And the higher up the chain, just like you explained it. If I'm the owner, I work for my directors, my leadership team. I work for them. All right, because they have to be able to come to me and say, I need this from you. I need these tools. I need clarification on goals, etc. I have to work for them all the way down the line. And if we're not putting our customers on that pedestal, okay, in a way, we're backwards thinking. And I also agree wholeheartedly. I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to bring it up. I was going to ask you about firing customers because if I have 5 core values for master happiness as well. It's the same thing. And I had to tell a customer early on when I first started my business, it was at the moment, it was my highest paying client and they
Hmm.
didn't fit my core values. And I had to sit there going, it's not about the money. It's about what I'm doing, what I get out of it, what I can help them with. And I had to tell them, I can't do this. I'm the wrong coach for you. And the guy offered me more money, Mike. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the test. And I had to go, doesn't money is not the question. It's about how we match together. I can't help you if I don't feel you are within my guardrails, my core values. Okay. So I love this. But now
Very
let's
much
let's
so.
get into something really specific. So when I do this feedback, okay, when I talk to people, what I do is I put together something I call the bacon meeting. All right, because obviously, why not call it the bacon meeting? But it's
Of course.
again the acronym BACON. And the first thing I sit down, let's say you were working with me, Mike, I would go, the B is the big picture. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? How's life treating you? How's work treating you? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? Are you motivated? Are you self-motivated? Are you up? Are you down, etc.? I just want to know how you are. I don't want to get into, you don't have to get into details yet. Just the big picture. I want to take your temperature almost. All right. Then I want them to go, I don't, I'm not, I'm not there. I'm not clear on my goals. I don't know if I'm doing a good job. That type of, those are the answers I'm looking for. Right. I don't want the answer, I'm fine. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything. So that's the B. The A is the action steps or the clarification on goals. Is so based on what I heard from you when I'm talking about your big picture, what are the action steps? Hey, if you're doing great, how do we keep that motivation going? If you're low, how do we get that? How do we turn that around? Okay, so we're going to create some action steps. And so the first 2 questions are all about you. Then I get into C in bacon, and that is what are the conflicts or concerns and potential solutions. So, in other words, what's going on here inside the place that's happening that maybe I don't see because I'm blind to it because things happen when I'm not around, right? And how would you fix it? This is not about whining. I want to hear real solutions. All right. After that is O, and that is outside or the other stuff. This is the stuff that's going on in the industry outside. I rely on my workers to be my eyes and ears all over the place. So tell me are there other opportunities that we might be missing, other things we could do? Maybe other industries, they do something that would be cool for us to do. And then I finally end it with N, which is a notable win. And I tell people, because I don't get an opportunity to watch you all day long, because I trust you, I give you autonomy, tell me something that you're really excited about, something that you accomplished since the last time we spoke that's worth me giving you a trophy or a high five, right? And it could be you closed a big deal. It could be you just learned a new chocolate chip cookie recipe, whatever it is. What are you proud of? And we talk about that because then this way the meeting starts with, I'm concerned about you, and it ends with, I'm proud of you. And in the middle, we talk about concerns, uh, problems, and stuff like that. That's where the stuff comes up where I might go, well, Mike, that's an interesting concern or a complaint or a conflict you brought up, right? Have you ever thought that what is something you could have done differently? And all of a sudden, that's my way to give honest feedback to people, allowing them to bring up the issues before I have to. All right. And so it gives me the opportunity. And that little thing, the first couple of times you do that meeting with somebody, it could take 30 minutes. But then after
Hmm.
a while, once they get used to it, I can be walking down the hallway with somebody and do a bacon meeting in 5 minutes. Pick their brains and just move it like that. Cause I want to talk to these people regularly. I don't want to forget about them. So how do you break bad news to people, Mike?
Uh-huh.
That's the question I'm throwing back at you.
How do I break bad news to people? Well, I mean, it happens. It
Yeah,
happens,
certainly.
unfortunately, often. I shouldn't say, I mean, it happens from time to time. And what I have learned is it's almost like if you're writing an email and you're really upset, the last thing you want to do is write it and hit send immediately because
Yes.
you're saying the wrong stuff. So I've learned take it back, think about how I want the message to be taken.
Okay.
And I think that's really, really important because I want to be fair. If someone did something wrong and they took a gamble, they were sticking their neck out and they failed at it, I mean, that's going to happen. Last thing I want them to do is be too conservative and never stick their neck out again.
100%.
So it takes some talent. It takes some ways of addressing it, and you look at what the issue is and not the person, and you say, okay, here's what happened. Now let's try to understand why it happened, and then what can we do to prevent that from happening again, and try to take the emotion out of it, because
Yeah.
let's face it, a lot of times, I'd have to say most of the time, depending upon how you push that message forward, people can take offense, and then the shields come up, and
Yep.
people will hold their ground saying, "Well, I wouldn't have done that if blah blah blah," or "It wasn't my fault." I mean, that doesn't help anyone. You want it to be productive, because you can take any lemon and make lemonade,
Yes.
right?
Yes. There you go. I like it. I like it a lot, Mike. And I especially like the fact that you're saying take the emotion out of it, because you're absolutely right. It's really easy for me to look at a mistake and go, "Oh, I can't believe this," right? And attack. And it's really easy for them to use emotion and protect themselves, right? Uh, I believe in this whole idea, like you had said earlier, is we should be often making mistakes, right? Because that shows we're trying something different. We're showing a little autonomy. The fact that you run a facility where you're saying, go ahead and try something that might fail, but let's talk about it. The only true failure is to make the same mistake over and over and over again. If you make a mistake, an error, it didn't work, let's talk about it and see what we learned from it and where we can improve upon it. Okay. And I think that when we're giving feedback to our people, it's always got to be like that, and saying, I want you to explain what you were thinking about when we were doing this, how it fell in with our core value, how it fell in with our vision, etc. If you went within those parameters, then I think we're okay. But maybe there's a clarification. It's got to be, is this a process problem or is it a people problem? Right? Is it something that you did incorrect, or is it I didn't make our rules or our processes, our systems clear enough? Okay. Or there's not a safeguard for something like that. So I think it's really cool. I just love the way you do this. I've talked with some other people and they go, hey, you know what? 3 strikes, you're out. That's their answer. I'm like, one, wow, you got to
That's
have a high turnaround, you know?
turnovers. Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what? One of the things I want to jump in,
Yeah.
Marty,
Go ahead.
because one of our core values, it sounds like two, that we smashed it into one, is continuous improvement
There
and
you go.
efficiency.
Nice.
And the only way you're going to really be able to achieve that is by sticking
Yes.
your neck out.
Yep.
Continuous improvement. Don't do something because it's just written down, but you don't understand it. Maybe it's old and we just didn't realize it should be revamped. So step out and say, this process stinks. We should do it a different way. Okay, great. That's exactly what we want to do, what we
Nice.
want to look at. And if they try it on their own and they fail and something goes wrong, well, you know what? It happens.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. So what I want to do is we're wrapping up. We're right at the top of the hour here, Mike. So I want you to kind of think of a statement in your that you would say, if you were going to coach another company, helping them learn to help their team evolve and grow. What would be your wrap up to it? Now I'll give you mine, so you'll think about it, and and if you want to, you can say, yeah, ditto. Okay. There was somebody else who came up with this idea that they called it's MAP. And at any given time, your employees are in one of these 3 process, or one of these 3 places, either in the midst of mastery, they're motivated because they're learning something new. Uh, Autonomy, you've given them some freedom to use what they've learned, and they're kind of putting their own twist to it. All right. And they're feeling trusted. Or P, they're purpose driven. In other words, they love what they're doing. And when you look at your people, if they're not motivated, you have to ask yourself, which of those 3 do you push them into to keep them motivated? Because sometimes people are like, I learned everything I need to learn here, right? Or everything I desire or I care to learn about. I do it on my own way and it's just getting boring. They have to be reminded of why they got into it the first place, that passion. So I'm always looking when I'm talking to my people, where are they in those three? And if they're not in one of those three, how do I get them into one of those three? That's how I keep my teams motivated. That's how I keep my clients motivated. It's always got to be in one of those three. So, Mike, how would you sum this up in team growth?
I really like yours, Marty.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look at that. However,
Nice.
when I'm talking to my staff
Yeah.
and when I'm working with my staff, they know what they're supposed to do based on the job and all of
Sure.
that. I think one of the key things I really subscribe to, and I talk about this frequently, is something I learned years ago in project management training and working with other people that you're trying to get something done. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them appropriately.
Bravo. Bravo. All right. So
And
closing, Mike, give us your web address again. Name of the company.
right at home nlc.com, and that's for Northern Lake County.
Awesome. Awesome.
If you Google right at home in Grays Lake, you'll find us.
Okay, nice. There you go. Hey, Mike, again, thank you so very much for being a guest here. I'm sorry we ran out of time. It's one of those things in the beginning when I told you an hour, you were like an hour. And now you look at this going, we could have gone another hour easily.
But I have so much more to say, Marty.
Exactly.
No.
Right. So thank you very much. And thank you all out there for listening.